All right, everyone. Here's something that a lot of people in the United States might not fully understand. Link in the description, archive, of course. The FDA needs serious reform because the advice it has given over time has been a little bit hit and miss. I lived in the Netherlands for 5 years. And there, the idea of clean living is literally just the idea of living, for example. Some people think of it as a socialist country. It's not really a socialist country. Trust me, again, I lived there for half a decade. The United States FDA has for years pushed vaccines that are not necessary on people that don't need them. And I am pro-vax, by the way. I'm not anti-vax in any way, shape, or form. I just think that some of them are superfluous. It has pushed dietary guidelines that are not acceptable. You remember the old food pyramid from when most of us were kids? And they're like, hey, you should have 11 servings of carbs every single day. Yeah, you probably shouldn't have 11 servings of carbs every day. There's a reason that they revised the food pyramid fairly quietly, by the way. And toxins in foods, food dye, other additives that are, put in. There was a big lawsuit, I remember, way back. Taco Bell actually got sued because their all beef tacos were mostly not beef. Like the beef in there was mostly carbs. It was mostly additives and binders and things like that. Now, was it tasty? Yeah, it tasted all right, but it's not all beef now, is it? No, it's not. You have to attain some sort of threshold to call it all beef. I don't care if they put some binders and additives in it, they're going to anyway, but it should be mostly just beef, just saying. We have all sorts of rules and regulations, for example, and this is FDA related, on things that are like home canned. You're making pickles. You're pickling beets, you're pickling cucumbers, you're making your own homemade meat, something like that. You're selling potatoes or something. We have all sorts of rules and regulations. There was a famous book called Everything That I Want to Do is Illegal. Actually, it was about a couple that tried to start a home farm and they ran into thousands of problems actually because literally everything that they wanted to do on their farm was regulated in some way, in sometimes outright illegal. And so they found it very frustrating. It was difficult to literally just, literally grow food. If you're a corporation, like if you're a Bill Gates farm, it's really easy to navigate these things because you've got a high-powered attorney. If you are a home farm, it is very, very difficult because you probably don't have the money for a high-powered attorney. And so there's this weird differential wherein people who are the most corrupt, the most out to get you, and the least honest of all people in the world, they can get away with murder, quite literally, in some cases. Chemical farming and stuff like that. Whereas a home farm, like a hobby farm or something like that, like if I wanted to plow up the 2 acres of land that we have out in the field, it would be very, very difficult for me to even have a food stall at the local farmer's market. Um, and so this is sort of the way that the United States works. I find this unhelpful. I think that it should be basically the inverse. It should be much more rigorous, going after pharmaceutical companies and corporate farmers, and much less easy to go after hobbyist farmers and home farmers that have niche crops or something like that. Maybe they wild gather mushrooms. Other than the basic law, for instance, oh shit, I accidentally harvested a poisonous mushroom and I killed 2 people. Well, I should be held legally accountable for that, obviously. But if it's a corporate farm, and they accidentally do that, it's almost impossible to actually sue these people. It's very, very interesting. The FDA needs serious reform. Thankfully, we have RFK Jr. and Tidmarsh. Tidmarsh is a professor, an eminent scientist, and he has been assisting on this as well. And so the hope is that the food quality in the United States will rise and be more palatable. We already have this in some other countries. Again, go to the Netherlands, see the quality of food. Now, there's one problem that I do have with the Netherlands, and I'm going to air my grievances now. I'm going to pretend it's Festivus months early. The Dutch don't know how to make bread. I'm sorry, but whatever you're doing with your bread, which is very unique, it makes it almost impossible to actually spread anything on it without ripping the bread into pieces. That's the only problem that I have. Otherwise, though, Dutch food tends to be much more healthy than what you get in the United States. The fruit is generally organically grown. They've virtually eliminated the use of pesticides and so forth. There are things that we can learn from the old world, especially the Dutch, I would posit. Um, they could learn a few things from us, like the use of firearms. That being said, the United States food supply is seriously hazarded. Unfortunately, most of it is unhealthy slop. It's bullshit. I mean, once in a while, you need a can of SpaghettiOs. What's wrong with that? But I want to have healthy food. This is why I garden so much, because I want to be able to grow my own food because I don't trust the food supply, honestly. I would rather kill animals out in the backyard and eat them than buy meat at the local butcher's shop because it's so heavily regulated, it's probably salted with a bunch of additives, preservatives, chemicals, and so forth, to the point where it's negligible as to whether it's even edible, actually. And it becomes a big problem. The U.S. food supply is contaminated with dye. It's contaminated with soy lecithin, which can cause hormonal problems in males specifically. It's contaminated with all sorts of binders, grain-based usually. They put them in the food, by the way, in the meat especially, specifically to get rid of them because we have such a huge surplus of the grain. So you're going to end up with cornmeal in your hamburger. Oh my God. It might taste all right, but at the same time, it's clogging you up. And this happens literally all of the time, but the public's not aware of it. Here's the problem. The public is not aware of the fact that their food has been tainted by these things. They think hamburger. Okay, well, it's ground beef. No, it's not. It's ground beef, binders, soy lecithin, and, half a dozen other additives. That's the beef that you're eating. Those hamburgers you're going to eat on the 4th of July are not pure beef, unfortunately, unless you got it from a very local butcher who has his own stock or something like that. And the odds of that happening are very low because he has to deal with the regulations involved with the government to the quality of the food. The quality of the food is retarded. That's the whole problem. So RFK Jr. and Tidmarsh are addressing this issue and trying to ameliorate it. I appreciate them for doing this. You're going to save millions of lives, by the way, by doing so. That's about all. Peace out.